بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So we were talking about arrogance and being a greater sin, and we were talking about arrogance against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and arrogance against Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi and the 12 Imams alayhi salam. And we said that this is actually arrogance against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when one is arrogant against the Imams of Ahlul Bayt or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, because when one is arrogant against them, it's because they think that they know better who should have been selected as a messenger or a prophet, and they have an issue where Allah placed his message, and Allah knows best where to place his message. So they have issue with them being representatives of Allah. So they would choose someone else other than, they would say, oh, why isn't he the rich one from amongst the tribes? Or why isn't he this one or that one? And why is he an orphan, or he's someone who doesn't have much stuff? And they would think that it needed to be someone else, but this is arrogance against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, a person who thinks they are better than or superior than Rasulullah or one of the Imams, or insults them and is arrogant towards them. Like we see Muawiyah, he was arrogant against Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he considered himself better than Imam Ali alayhi salam. Or we see that other people sat in the place of Imam instead of allowing the Imam to be in their rightful place. This is also arrogance against the Imam, which is arrogance against Rasulullah and arrogance against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we talked a little bit about arrogance against Muraja, or arrogance against ulama. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he said, beware, don't falsify the words of an alim. Do not reject his statements and do not bear enmity towards him. Be cordial with them, because friendship with the learned is a sign of good akhlaq, and enmity with them is a sign of hypocrisy. Beware, whoever insults an alim insults me, and whoever insults me insults Allah, and whoever insults Allah, his abode is in the hellfire. And remember, whoever honors an alim honors me, and whoever honors me honors Allah, and whoever honors Allah, his abode will be in the paradise. We have other narration from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I found that goes along with this one. Is Rasulullah said, you should be one of these types, either a scholar or a seeker of knowledge, or one of those who loves the scholars, and don't be from the other group, the ones that hate the scholars. He said, to hate the scholar leads to destruction. And he also said, he who humiliates a person of knowledge has indeed humiliated me, and he who humiliates me is a disbeliever. So we see that it's very important to not be arrogant against ulama, or not to be, say like, I know better than this one, or I should have been in this place instead of that one. And this happens a lot, unfortunately. And we have to be careful not to say negative things against ulama, even if we don't agree with their opinion, because the ulama, they have ijtihad, they're mujtahid. They can deduce the rules, and some of them have different conclusions than the other one, because this one says something different than our marja, for example. We shouldn't say, oh, that one is ignorant, that one doesn't know, that one's this and that. That's his conclusion. We don't have to follow him. But we don't need to disrespect them either. We gave example last time, I'll repeat it again here, that we had many ulama who had disagreements with their teachers even, but they didn't disrespect them. For example, they held different views. We see that Sheikh Mufid wrote a book critiquing his teacher's book, Sheikh Saduk, but he did it in a respectable way. Also, we see that Shahid Thani had a critique of Shahid al-Awwal's book, but he did it in a respectable way. And we shouldn't fall into the trap of those who want to divide the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam by turning us against ulama because of just some differences of opinions. And it's a great sin to accuse someone else of something that, but imagine accusing a marja of being outside of Islam, for example, because we don't agree with their fatwa or their ruling. And most of the time it's done without even researching the person's books or their statements, and people only repeat what they hear without doing any research or looking into it at all. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to investigate when someone brings you news in case you wrong someone unknowingly. So they're all ulama, and we should respect them even if they hold differing opinions, that we have come to our conclusions, or we follow our marja and their conclusions. Maybe they have a different opinion, for example. That's their ijtihad. They have their right to have a different opinion. That being said, we move to the next part. He says, we must remember that all Quranic verses that mention eternal punishment for the proud types of arrogance. The first type is in respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So these types of arrogance, they result in disbelief in the creator of the universe. And the one who dies without belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he will go to Jahannam. Because this arrogance that they had, it led them to reject Allah. It led them to reject Rasulullah. It led them to reject Ahlul Bayt. So it led them to reject the ruling of Allah, where Allah appointed these individuals as our leaders, as our guides, as the representatives on earth. So if someone had arrogance against them, then it's arrogance against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this type of arrogance is the one that would go to the hellfire. So we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who has even an iota of pride will not enter Jannah. Then he says that the pride referred to in this tradition, Shahid al-Awwal mentions this, it says is the one that reaches the level of disbelief. It's the arrogance towards Allah, Rasulullah, and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But if the arrogance towards people in general is, it means that maybe someone has a bit of pride over someone else. He says they will not enter paradise with the humble believers. They will have to undergo some sort of punishment, either in Barzakh or either in go to the hellfire for some time to purify them of those things, and then they will enter Jannah later. So he said that this interpretation is in accordance with the riwayat that we have from Muhammad ibn Muslim, quoting Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that he said, Imam says, even the one who has pride equal to a mustard seed in his heart will not be able to enter Jannah. Muhammad ibn Muslim said, I said, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Like we are all finished basically. To him, we belong to Allah, and to him we return. But he's saying it like in a way like we are all, this is bad for us, all of us. So Imam asked him, why did you recite this verse? And he said that it was in response to the Imam's statement. And the Imam says, it's not what you have understood. Imam told him, know that I meant disbelief and refusal by this. So the ones who have arrogance in their heart, and it leads them to disbelief, and it leads them to refusing and rejecting Allah, rejecting Quran, rejecting Rasulullah, Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, like this. So the arrogance which prevents one to enter Jannah is arrogance based on the rejection of truth, rejection of Allah, Rasulullah, A'imma alayhimus salam. But if a person is a believer and he is arrogant, he will not have the eternal punishment. If he is arrogant against other people, for example, it is a greater sin, but it's different than being arrogant against Allah, Rasulullah, and Ahlul Bayt. So the first two types of arrogance lead to eternal punishment, as mentioned in Quran, which is arrogance against Allah, arrogance against Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt. Third type of arrogance is arrogance in respect to human beings in general, not prophets or messengers or imams, just regular everyday people. So to consider oneself superior and better than others, and to consider other people lower than yourself is arrogance. To behave proudly with them, to walk ahead of them in order to show your superiority, or to try to find the best seat in a gathering where one would be more noticeable, for example, and with the intention of putting yourself above other people. To expect others to give you salam and show humility to you, whereas we should also give salam and be humble to other people. And when we give salam, there's 70 rewards in giving salam. 69 are for the one who initiates the salam, and one is for the one who returns the salam. So it's better for us to go after giving the salam. Also to hate the one who offers good advice and to refuse the advice that is offered is a type of arrogance. To feel angry if someone points out our mistakes, not to behave kindly towards those who we teach, to act as if one has done a great favor and expect servitude in return. For example, someone has done a favor for someone else and they think that, okay, now they are my servant because I have done them a favor, they owe me. So they have to serve me, for example. He says, in brief, arrogance is the act of considering and believing oneself to be superior to another person, just like we consider ourselves superior to the animals. We should never expect special treatment from people, considering ourselves like we are entitled to some sort of special treatment. I remember I've mentioned before, but it fits here that I remember my teacher would always stand in line when the food was served and after majlis, and he would refuse to be served first. And, he didn't like the people to bring the food to him and have him sit. But whereas we find some people, because of their position that they have, they feel like they are entitled to be treated like a king, for example. And if no one serves them or no one caters to them, then they become offended. And we have to remember we are all humble servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who hold the roles of scholars are spending their time in the service of the community and not the other way around, where the community is supposed to serve them, for example. We are doing khidmah for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So the proud people who are rich prefer not to stand beside the ordinary people during Salatul Jama'ah, for example, or to mix with them in religious gatherings like majalis. In reality, the arrogant person has made himself a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by trying to acquire the divine attribute of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mutakabbir, that belongs exclusively to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as if the slave is trying to take away the king's crown and put it on his own head and then seat himself on the throne. We want to be proud over other people, but this is exclusively for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we mentioned before. Said such a slave is liable for the worst punishment. It's wise to avoid such behavior. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything. So it's not proper for one man to behave arrogantly with another one and consider himself superior or exclusive to another one. And no one, because they are white, should feel they're better than the one who is black. Or, for example, the uh, Iranian should not consider himself superior than Arab. Arab should not consider himself superior than Persian, or list goes on and on. But in every society, we find this problem, but Islam has the solution for all of these problems that are plaguing mankind today. As we see that they had many people to call the Adhan that were Arab, They could have went and called Adhan perfectly. But who did Rasulullah pick? He picked Bilal al-Habashi from Abyssinia, an African slave, to go and call the Adhan. This was to break the racism. That's why I believe that Rasulullah wanted to break this bad ideology. Even though Bilal had a problem with reciting some letters, the people complained about it. He said that Bilal's seen is sheen in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he used to say ashadu instead of ashhadu. So we see that many instances where the imams also did this, they would eat with their servants and people would complain about it. And then we say we are all from Bani Adam. So there's no superiority because of race. Superiority only comes from taqwa, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who has more service towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more we become closer to Allah, the more humble we are, we should become anyway. So he says that the one who behaves proudly has actually become Allah's rival, because pride is a quality reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. In Surah Abasa, we have the ayat that says Abasa wa tawalla. He frowned and he turned away. And the other sects have misinterpreted this verse, and they say that it was referring to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa. I mean, how can this be when Rasulullah has the best character in the entire creation of mankind, that they can say that Rasulullah frowned at someone and turned away from them? Rather, it was actually someone who was sitting near him who frowned and turned away from that poor person. Also, once this rich man, he moved away from a poor man. He was sitting, and he, like the poor man's clothes, he sat near him. It was in the presence of Rasulullah, and his clothes was touching the other one. So he pulled his clothes so the poor person didn't touch his clothes. Maybe he wasn't as tidy, like maybe he needed to take a shower, or his clothes were dirty or something like that. So this rich guy like moved away and showed his, disgust at the guy sitting next to him. So like maybe he thought he would become infected, by his poverty. This is what the Prophet asked him. Did you think he would become like his poverty would basically jump off of him onto you? And the man felt ashamed after this. And subhanallah, he gave away his wealth, to that poor man. And then the poor man refused it. He was very rich, and he said, "I'm going to give you my wealth." So the poor man said, "No, no, I don't want it," because he didn't wish to become proud and arrogant like the way that man did because of the wealth that he had. So very good lesson in this. We have to be kind and generous and treat everyone, with respect and with dignity, even, the people who have less or in a lower position. And I remember my friend Sheikh Kulani, you know him, but whenever we would go somewhere, for example, in the Hausa or office of ulama or something, there would always be someone there that no one's really paying much attention to, or they overlook that person, but they are serving the guests. They're giving chai, they are cleaning, they're doing something. He would always make a point to go talk to that person, give him salam, ask him how he is doing. Like it makes the person feel very good, and whereas other people overlooking that person. Or other example, we used to sit and eat in one of the places, and the people with amama would take their food and go, and they would eat in their rooms. And the tulab that were studying, they were like in intro studies or just coming there. They would all eat together, but for some reason they wouldn't eat with the mu'ammamin. So the ones wearing amama. So we started sitting with them, and the chef was telling us, give us food, says go. Don't. I was like, no, no, I'm gonna go sit in here. And he's like, no, no, take it, go to your room. Like they would give it to you in a styrofoam container. And I was like, no, just put it on a plate. I'm gonna sit. And the students really enjoyed sitting with us. And after a few days, the other ulama started coming down and sitting with us and eating too. We should all eat together. We are all brothers in walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So we shouldn't have pride against other because of race, because of status, because of whatever position we have, because of money, because of whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We are all equal in this regard. So he says, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, pride is considering other people lowly and considering the truth as something foolish because they're so arrogant. They consider like the truth, they see it and it's like, I don't care about this thing. Alema Majlisi explains that it denotes making fun of the truth, considering the truth as low and not understanding its importance. Where we have hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the worst kind of pride is considering the creatures low and considering the truth as something foolish. One of the companions asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he said, I eat well and wear good perfume or cologne or attar, the oil or perfume, cologne, whatever we want to call it, and ride the best horse. And I'm also accompanied by my servants. Is this arrogance on my part? I want to know so that I can abstain from doing this or not. Imam bowed his head and then said, remember, the accursed and arrogant is the one who considers other people low and ignores the truth. So the companion said, I understood what truth is, but what is the meaning of ignoring the truth? Imam says, one who considers other people as inferior and he shows his superiority over them is arrogant. So it depends on the niyyah of the person, intention. Uh, if we are not considering someone arrogant, someone lower than ourselves as being a lowly person and we are better than them, and we are not, in this case they had horses, but let's just put it in our scenario for now. We have cars. So if a person has a very nice car, it's he's worked hard for it. It's not showing off. It's a very good quality car. Sometimes, for example, you can buy a car which wears out after 5 years, but the car was very cheap and you need to buy another car. Whereas if you invest and spend more money and get a nicer brand of car, the car lasts longer. Same thing with clothes, and so sometimes it's better to invest in something that will last longer. So let's just say this person invested in buying himself a sedan, but a BMW or Mercedes or something, because mechanically the car is good and lasts for, let's just say for sake of argument, I don't know how long they last or not, but they're considered as being a luxury brand car. And he doesn't consider himself being superior to other people, and he drives to a place with that car, but it doesn't mean that he is arrogant trying to show off that he has the better car than everyone else. It's just a normal car for him. In this case, it's not showing off. But then in another case, someone's niyyah may be to show off his brand new car, that he has the best car, the brand new car, better than everyone else. And his intention driving that car to the place is for people to notice him because of that car. And you see many people are trying to show off because of their cars in order to, for example, get the girl that they want to marry. So, oh, I have, a Porsche or whatever sort of car in order to show off. This is different. So it comes down to the niyyah of the person. Now we come to Quranic point of view about arrogance. It says Surah Baqarah, ayat 206. And when it said to him, guard against the punishment of Allah, pride carries him off to sin. Therefore, hell is sufficient for him, and certainly it is an evil resting place. So when it says, pride, it carries him off to sin because someone told him to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have had, according to one of the famous narrators of a hadith, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was not Shia, but he is very well known for narrating a hadith. He says that the greatest sin is the one who is told to fear Allah and he replies, mind your own business. So he is arrogant. He's like, why are you telling me to fear Allah? Worry about your own self. So the author says, when someone warns a person of divine punishment and advises him to leave some sins that he is doing, abandon those sins, don't do them anymore. And instead of accepting the advice with humility, he says, it's none of your business what you worried about me for. First, go fix yourself. This is something we've probably heard people say before. He says, or instead of giving up a sin, the person repeats it with insolence. He doesn't care. He just keeps repeating anyway. These are the types of people who are condemned to the hellfire according to this ayat that we mentioned. This is from the statement from the author. It says the arrogance and pride of such people are obstacles in their development of akhlaq, and instead of accepting the truth, they try to justify their actions. So we should never try to justify sin. We should just accept, okay, we're doing something, it's not right. We'll work on it. We'll try to be better. We ask Allah for His help, and we don't try to justify it. In the same way, it says during a debate, a person is confronted with a fact, but the pride hinders him from accepting that fact, and he sticks to his stand. No matter what, even if he knows he is wrong. We have met some people like this, and even though they are wrong, they will not accept that they are wrong, no matter what. They will just stand on the falsehood. It doesn't even matter because their pride won't let them. They would rather just stand on the wrong decision. It reminds me of the guys who get lost. We see this like in movies or skits or something that, the guy gets lost and he says, I'm not lost. And the wife says, yeah, you're lost. He says, no, I'm not lost. I'm just taking the scenic route. He knows he is lost, but he will not admit he's lost. And he will drive for, another 20, 30 minutes in the wrong direction. And, and he will never admit that he's lost. So also we see these debates, when people bring facts and debates, they don't want to accept it. Because when we look at most of these debates, it's not for seeking the truth. They don't care about this. It's more like a UFC fight of the minds or boxing match of the minds, for example. The one wants to just destroy the other one. And, at the end of it, it's just a battle of egos. They just do it for show. They get online, try to get as many people to watch it, just like a UFC or boxing fight, a wrestling match or something. The same, they go to these parks and they stand out there and there's so many people around and they don't want to seem lesser in front of the other one. And they're just arguing, yelling, insulting, going back and forth. Nothing fruitful comes out of these things. It's not like our debates of our scholars that we had in the past, like Muraja'at, for example, where Sayyid Sharaf ad-Din al-Musawi was writing letters to one of the prominent Sunni ulama, and they would write letters back. And they were just discussing to find out get down to the bottom of it. But it was done with respect. And it's not like we see today with these people arguing back and forth. And honestly, they are wasting a lot of their time. So also the pride comes into, in this a lot into the debates. So let's, I think we have maybe run out of time here. We can leave this part let's read these couple ayat and we can start from there, inshallah. Let's finish this page. Allah says in Surah 41, ayat 26, and those who disbelieve say, do not listen to this Quran, and they make noise. Perhaps you may overcome. So pride causes them to make noise because they don't want people to listen to the Quran. They feel they are better than listening to the Quran. Surah Luqman, ayah 18, Allah says, do not turn your face away from people in contempt, nor go about in the land exulting over other people. Surely Allah does not love the self-conceited boaster. Also, Surah Hujurat, it says, "O you who believe, don't let one group of you laugh at another group. Perchance they are better than that one, or women laugh at other women. Perhaps they are better than them. And don't find fault with your own people or call others by offensive nicknames. Evil is a bad name after faith, and whoever does not turn, these are the unjust." So anyone who looks down on other Muslims and considers himself superior to them is like Iblis. Iblis refused to prostrate and do sajda to Adam alayhi salam because he considered himself superior. He had pride, he had racism, he had these type of sins. He says, what did he say? Surah 38, ayat 76, "I am better than him. You have created me of fire and you created him from clay." Allah says, "I will certainly fill the hell with you and with those who follow you." So those who act like Iblis, they follow Iblis because they say, "I am better than this one," because something, something, whatever, because money, because power, because of race, because of the list goes on and on and on. The same thing Iblis says, I'm better than him because you created me from fire, you created him from clay. So we have the solution for all of these problems within Islam. The one who studies these things in depth, they will recognize the akhlaqi, things. They will recognize the diseases that people have in their characters and the immorality, and they will recognize it and they will stay away from it. And they will also learn the good qualities that Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam showed for us, and they will cling to those. So it takes a lot of work on ourselves, but it can be done. And inshallah, we'll end here and start the next session after 5 minutes, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على
Allahumma
محمد.
salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.